I'm 68 years old. It's a quiet Tuesday morning, and I've just realized something that should have terrified me 30 years ago. My marriage didn't end the day we signed the divorce papers. By then, it was already over. It died slowly, so slowly I didn't even notice it was disappearing. It was like a photograph left out in the sun. You don't see the change day by day. You still recognize the faces. You still remember the moment it was taken. And then, one morning, you look at it again and realize all the color is gone. The most dangerous thing that happened to my marriage wasn't an affair or a fight. It was that nothing happened at all. And the worst part is, while it was happening, I thought everything was fine. The silence between us kept growing. Not the peaceful kind, not the comfortable kind, the dangerous kind. The kind of silence that sneaks in when two people stop trying to reach each other. No shouting, no slammed doors, just less talking, less laughing, less touching, until the silence became louder than any argument, because no one cared enough to fight anymore. Years later, I learned there was a name for it. They call it the slow fade. Tiny fractures in connection, so small you dismiss them, until one day you realize those fractures have pulled two hearts apart. I lived inside that silence for nearly 20 years before I even knew how to hear it. And by the time I did, it was already too late.
When we got married, I was 28 and she was 26. We didn't have a penny to our names. We lived in a small second-floor apartment. The ceiling had water stains that looked like old maps. And the kitchen was so tight you couldn't stand in it together. But somehow, we always did. We bumped elbows. We laughed. We talked about nothing important. My boss. The woman at her office who always wore mismatched socks. We wondered out loud if we'd ever have kids, and whether we could even afford them if we did. We talked about stupid things. We talked about everything. And somehow, that felt like enough. I remember one night, early on, maybe our second year, sitting on the fire escape at 2 in the morning. The apartment was unbearable. No air conditioning, just heat and noise. The city hummed below us. Steady, alive. We shared a bottle of cheap wine. We barely spoke. But I remember thinking, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. It felt like she knew every part of me, the good and the bad, and that it was all okay. I didn't have to perform. I didn't have to explain myself. I didn't have to prove anything. Sitting there, on cold metal, our shoulders touching, I could just be. And for the first time in my life, that felt like safety. What I didn't understand back then was that this feeling wasn't permanent. I didn't know you were supposed to protect it. I didn't know it was fragile. I thought love was fixed. Something solid, something that would survive on its own. I assumed it would still be there, even if I stopped noticing it. That assumption cost me more than I understood at the time. I was wrong. In the kind of way you only understand when it's already gone.
By the time I was 35, everything had changed. Not all at once, not with a bang. It changed in small, invisible pieces. My job started demanding more of me. Longer hours, more pressure. We had 2 kids, a mortgage that never let us breathe. She went back to work, and somewhere inside all that responsibility, we became tired. Not loud exhaustion, quiet exhaustion. The kind that sleep can't fix. The kind that makes you stop noticing things. And in that tiredness, we stopped talking. Not suddenly, not on purpose. There was no big fight, no breaking point. It just happened. Our conversations shrank down to logistics, milk, meetings, something broken in the house. We were efficient, organized. We were running the small business of a family. But we weren't living a life together anymore. We were maintaining it. And I told myself that was the same thing. I'd come home, drop my briefcase by the door, and disappear into my phone while she cooked dinner. She'd ask about my day. I'd say, "Fine," without even looking up. She'd tell me about hers, and I'd nod like I was listening. I wasn't. I was hiding behind being busy, and I called it normal. Days blurred into weeks. Weeks turned into years. I don't remember the moment I stopped trying to close the distance. Maybe she stopped first. Maybe I just stopped noticing that she had. What scares me now isn't that we stopped talking. It's that I remember the exact moment I realized I didn't miss her voice anymore. By the time I was 45, we had a rhythm. It worked exactly the way it was supposed to. We were a good team. Good parents. The bills were paid on time. We took the same vacation every year. Hosted the same barbecues. When people asked how we were doing, we smiled and said, "We're fine." And in a way, we meant it. We were fine. We just weren't connected anymore. I told myself that connection was something young couples worried about, not people with responsibilities. I remember one night, lying in bed beside her. She was reading under the soft glow of her bedside lamp. I was pretending to read. But really, I was watching her. And a hollow truth settled in my chest. I had no idea what she was thinking. I didn't know what she wanted anymore. I didn't even know if she was happy. And then a more honest thought followed. I wasn't sure I wanted to know. Because knowing would mean admitting there was distance between us. And admitting that would mean I'd have to do something about it. So I told myself I was too tired. That this was just a phase. That the quiet was harmless. The truth is, I was comfortable in it. The silence felt efficient. It felt safe. And we both chose the easier path. Not asking, not answering, not naming what we could both feel. There were moments when the truth almost broke through. I'd catch her looking at me across the dinner table. Sadness, maybe resignation, and every time I'd look away. Because meeting her eyes would mean trying to fix something I no longer knew how to fix. Eventually, she stopped trying to tell me things that mattered. She'd start a sentence, pause, then say, "Never mind." And I would let her. I told myself she was protecting herself from my indifference. But looking back now, I wonder if she was protecting me instead. By then, love hadn't left all at once. It left in pieces. And the worst part? I helped it pack. When I retired at 65, I had a simple picture of what our life would finally become. Almost naive. I thought we'd get our time back. Time to talk. Time to travel. Time to remember why we fell in love. I told myself that once the jobs were done and the kids were grown, we'd find our way back to each other. I believed the hard part was over. The first week felt like a vacation. We slept in, took long walks, talked about small projects around the house. It felt light, almost hopeful. But by the second week, a terrifying truth settled in. The kids had been gone for years. My career was finished. All the noise that had filled our lives for decades was suddenly gone. And what replaced it wasn't peace. It was silence. Heavy, unfamiliar, impossible to ignore. Sitting inside that silence, I finally understood what I had been avoiding for years. The marriage was already over. It had been for a long time. Maybe 10 years, maybe 15. I don't know when the last small flicker went out. Only that it had. We weren't a couple sharing a life anymore. We were living inside the ghost of a marriage, moving through familiar routines without any real presence behind them. And I was only just brave enough to admit it. We would sit in the same room for hours without speaking. I'd read the newspaper. She'd work on a crossword puzzle. Not a single word between us. It wasn't the comfortable quiet we once shared. It was heavy, awkward, the kind of silence that makes you aware of every breath, every small movement. We felt like strangers who shared a house and a history, but nothing else. One morning, I watched her from across the room as she watered her plants. Her back was turned to me, and the thought hit me harder than anything before it. I didn't know this person anymore. She didn't know me. And somehow, we had been married for 40 years without truly seeing each other for a very long time. I didn't lose my marriage because I didn't love her. I lost it because I stopped showing that I did. Sharing this isn't easy, and I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm naming this slow, silent drift because pretending it doesn't exist is how it survives. If any part of this sounds familiar, you don't have to explain yourself. Just share what you're willing to. Sometimes, knowing you're not alone is enough to break the silence. A marriage doesn't always die in one loud, dramatic moment. It rarely ends with betrayal or cruelty. More often, it fades quietly. Through the conversations you don't have, the feelings you set aside, the moments you choose to look away because it feels easier than facing them. You tell yourself you're fine, that this is just adulthood, that this distance is normal. But you're not fine. You're numb. Numb to the space growing between you and the person lying next to you. Numb to the loneliness that somehow exists inside a shared life. I can't go back. I can't undo 30 years of quiet. I was physically present in my marriage, but emotionally absent.
and I have to live with that. If you hear even a trace of your own story in mine, pay attention to the silence. That's when it starts dying. Not at the end, with paperwork and lawyers, but long before that. I didn't have time left, but maybe you do.